gives me great pleasure, it's a special honor to introduce to you Laura Welch. Laura comes with an international flavor coming from her job, a 2-week respite from her job as a teacher in South Korea. And when I spent a little bit of time with her today, she said there was a 48-hour window of opportunity to come to the States to speak to us. So she's a friend and supporter of the coalition, and she has a compelling story to share with us about her evolution from an advocate, activist for the pro-choice cause to an advocate for the pro-life cause. So it's with great, great pleasure that I introduce to you Laura Welch. Laura?
Each one of these is like the elements of the earth, earth, wind, air, and fire, and the white is heaven, and so the unity of people and the earth is heaven. That's what it means. It's called the DMP. And I want to say good evening to everyone. I'm going to say I want to thank you very much for coming. Everything, I just made a very quick stop here because I only had 2 weeks and I managed to be here. Well, first off, I was born in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Well, that's our nation's capital, and I grew up in being very, very pro-choice and in a pro-choice family, and then got involved with the Canadian version of NARAL, have the National Abortion Rights Action League, pro-choice in America, and they have a Canadian version called Canadians for Choice. So I did a summer internship for them in 2003, and so I was basically it would be the equivalent in America to working with the Washington, D.C. office of NARAL, and did a lot of research in my university career. I have a double degree in political science and women's studies with doing with advocacy for abortion rights and the feminist movement and everything. So I even met past presidents of the Canadian equivalent of NAL, which is like NA's National Action Committee on the Status of Women in Canada, and did many activists and lobbies for the biggest abortion provider in Canada called Dr. Henry Morgentaler, and he was the one that helped legalize abortion in Canada. So I met him, I lobbied for him to get an award and fundraise for Planned Parenthood. So, and basically that's what I did, and thought nothing of it. And thought I was doing a really, really awesome thing with my life, and meeting a whole bunch of really key political and activist people growing up in Canada. Well, 4 years ago, my life took a sudden turn. Within 4 to 6 weeks, I had this opportunity to go to Korea, and let me tell you, my life since living for the past 4 years in Korea has just done a 180-degree turn. Basically, I was diehard pro-choice. It was completely rock solid. Nothing could shake me. And the first whispers of truth in my life, questioning my previous rock solid, pro-choice stance, was when I had the opportunity to take a visit to Hanoi, North Vietnam. Let me just tell you, this is not a Jane Fonda story. Well, in the middle of August 2005, I touched down in Hanoi Airport, just 45 minutes outside the capital of Hanoi, North Vietnam. And basically I did the tourist thing and went to the Ethnology Museum, saw Ho Chi Minh's mausoleum, the place where he lived and was the leader of the Viet Cong. And also with the recent 2008 presidential campaign, I got to see the lake into which John McCain spoke so much of during that he was barreling into Hanoi with his broken arms. And I've seen that lake and been to the places where he talked about where he was tortured for 5.5 years. And so, well, I ended up being able to go to a cooperative that housed teenagers and young adults that had deformities or had cancer. And then one of the young girls, who was not much younger than me, made the national women's costume of the North Vietnamese called an áo dài. And I ended up walking wearing my áo dài through the streets of North Vietnam, and also meeting some wonderful street seller children there. And then a still small voice spoke to me saying, back where I come from, some people would have said, like, the girl who had made my áo dài should have been aborted, like her mother should just got rid of her because, oh, her life's not worth living because, oh, she's going to grow up in a poor communist country, or she's going to get cancer or something like that. And they would have said the same thing about the street seller children, that I can tell you would have given some of the Western kids a run for their money. I mean, they were really, they were poor, but they were very, very smart. And I just fell in love with them on the instant. And I said, whoa. But then I just quieted those thoughts and then got back on the plane the next day. Like, that was quite a flight. And the power went out. We almost had like a Hurricane Katrina there, but thankfully we took off. And then went back to South Korea and never really thought very much again, and to take care of the kids that I do there. And then in the middle of December 2005, I mean, there was a huge national scandal in South Korea. It was the Dr. Hwang scandal, and I think that some of you might have heard of it. He was lauded in South Korea as being like the great discoverer of 9 new lines of embryonic stem cells, and heralded in the papers and the scientific community, national hero, everything. I mean, the whole bells and whistles treated him like a king in the country. But then, in the middle of December 2005, it was found out that all of his research was faked, and that he had forced and coerced his female subordinates into giving him their eggs, and they've since died, and that he basically bribed and told falsely 20 women, including with the consent 2 teenage girls. We gave money to them for their eggs, and so just to pay their university tuition or whatever. And now they have since had massive problems, and so that scandal just broke, and it rocked the South Korean society from top to bottom, just like 9/11 did to America. And then I was just like saying, what is going on with this? I have to find out, because I heard just like most people, they think stem cell research or whatever, and they think, oh, well, if they're not going to use the embryos from in vitro fertilization, well, why don't they just ethically give them to research or something like that, and not thinking too much, not being much more aware than the next person. And then but with this scandal, I'm saying, this just rocked me, and I said, I have to find out. So about a month later, the middle of January 2006, I was in the PC Bung, which is like an internet arcade. It's a very big hangout for teenage boys and their friends. That's a big thing in South Korea. At least they're there in front of the computer and not out making trouble. And I was just there, just on the computer, and doing some research, and then I fell on the site of the Center for Bioethical Reform, and there I saw the dismembered bodies of aborted babies, and because I was researching the stem cells research, and then I happened upon the site, and there I saw, and I'm going like, oh my gosh, is that true? And then obviously I'm going through everything, and obviously it was true, and I just sat stunned before the computer, and I'm just like going, like there's 4 weeks, and 6 weeks, and 8 weeks, and 12 weeks, and up to 24 weeks, and I'm going like, oh my gosh, oh my goodness, you know, and I had to, you know, hold back the tears, you know, from streaming down my face, and then I'm going to say, oh my goodness, I'm going to need some context with all of this. So then I ended up on 10 Million Articles. It's a scientific and news article site, and then I ended up happening upon the article, the testimony of the American actress Margaret Colin about her testimony before the United States Congress on human cloning and her other, you know, pro-life testimonies right there, and then it was just as if the veil had been ripped from my face. Like her words just pierced me like a hot iron, and then I just basically I was, you know, I just didn't say a word. I just shut everything down. I went to the lady, paid my money, and I just had to hold back the tears, you know, from coming out of me, you know, walking home back to my studio apartment. And then that weekend I just went out to the Korean restaurant, you know, just to eat, and I come back and I just basically shut myself away for the entire weekend, and then that I just broke down. And I just could not stop crying. I just could not get the pictures out of my mind, and I could not get the words of Margaret Colin out of my head. They just kept replaying it. And then I just looked at myself in the mirror, and I just basically, you know, repented of I said, oh my goodness, I didn't know that this is what abortion was really like. That this is what I had been promoting for so many years, for the better part of a decade of my life. And so after that, I went through, you know, quite a time. 2 weeks later, my employer illegally terminated my employment and was going to have me deported from the country. So I was there at immigration having all of my rights taken away, and so they canceled my visa, they confiscated my alien registration card, gave me a notice from the Ministry of Justice saying get out of the country within 14 days or you'll